Okay. So that's what I wanted to cover today. This is the last exercise. This is the after and this is the before. So they give you all of the elements of the illustration and then they want you to use the tool. The symbol tool in your toolbox looks like a little airbrush. It's a little misleading, I think, because when you see the tool, the airbrush, you're thinking of you're spraying pixels like in a paint program, but you don't. You're actually spraying objects. And you can create your own little library of objects. You'll notice if I click over here to the right in my palettes, and if you don't see that yours visible, you'll find it under Window. And what you want to do is make sure that you see symbols. It's right here. And you may not have anything in there. So I'm going to pull this one off because this is specific to this exercise. And you'll see that there's some grass, there are some trees, there are some clouds, there's some hibiscus or whatever, some different kinds of leaves that we can use. Now, let me go back to this one. You'll see that we already have some, and I guess we're supposed to create some of our own here. Let me see why we don't have some of the others. Maybe they want us to, because we have the tree, we have the leaf. Why don't we have the leaves in the tree? They've changed this exercise just a little bit, I guess, to make it look interesting. Well, let me show you where some other symbols are. And they do have libraries of symbols. So with the libraries palette open, we can click on this little tab here, this little flyout window, and near the bottom it will say Open Symbol Libraries. And you'll see that there's flowers, fashion, 3D symbols, artistic textures, all kinds of stuff in here. Some of it is worthless, some of it can be, given the right situation, extremely useful. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open just to see what flowers looks like, see what we have in here. And there's a whole bunch of them in here. So maybe we want to add some flowers to our scene as well. I'm going to come back again with the flyout window, open symbol library, and let's look at some others here. Artistic texture, arrow, sushi. Okay. Hair and fur. It might be kind of interesting just for the heck of it. Little individual elements. Not that great, but whatever. Okie doke. So how do you use these? Let's start by working on a layer on top. So I need to make sure that I have layers visible. And I don't. So Window, Layers, there we go. And you can see that the text layer, in fact, is locked. So I'm going to build on top. Maybe some of these are already visible. Leaves, flowers, they want us to work on different layers? I guess so. Where's grass? Tree, group, leaves, flowers. I'm going to go ahead and work on a layer immediately on top of this, where it says flowers, and I'll name it grass, just to put it on a different layer. Now with this tool selected, I can use the airbrush tool and watch. I'm going to spray paint across the bottom. I click and I drag, and you can see how I have all of the grass sprayed in here, and it happens to be orange grass when it comes out on the orange layer. But when you look at it and it's all done, you'll see that you actually get the individual little sprigs of grass. And I can click some more. I can click individual. If you click one, you're just adding more, one at a time within that group. If I continue to spray within this and just hold down the mouse, see how it's adding within that group. So now if I use the move tool, I can select this and I can move an entire section of the grass. Now, if you're wondering what all of these other little tools are inside here, these enable you, once you've sprayed a group of these objects, to modify and edit them in some way. So let's start with them one at a time. This one, you'll see we can change the direction of these so that they're faced in slightly different position. This one, hold on here. There we go. They're getting clumped together a little bit more. When I continue to hold down the mouse, they're getting closer and closer together. When I click the other one, that should increase the size, and if I hold down the Option key, reduce the size of some others. See how when I hold on top of it and I click, it's making some of them larger, some of them smaller. This one will allow you to rotate if you want to actually twist it, and I don't know that you'd want to do that for this one, but with some symbols that you spray, you can do that. This one will allow you to change the color a little bit, and see how I'm lightening some of them up with the, if you wanted to do that. I'm undoing. If I hold down the Option key, it should make it darker. Maybe not. Okay, let's move on to this one. And I'm removing some of them. See how it allows me to eliminate some that I already sprayed, because maybe I think in the background here I just sprayed too much and I want to minimize this. So it gives you a little bit more control in here. So that's all each of these do. Now what if I wanted to modify the blades of grass in here, and I wanted it to affect all of these in here, that I wasn't happy with this, that maybe I wanted to change this. I mean, if I want to change the size, I can just come back in here and do that. If I want to group these a little bit closer together, I can do that. Oh, why aren't you working? That allows me to just move them around a little bit. Okay, let's go back to this one. There we go. They are clumping up a little bit more together. Okay, and I can come back and continue to paint in here too. Just keep adding, adding, adding. Okay, so what if I wanted to change the color, or if I wanted to change the properties of them? What I can do is I can take this one, for example, and just drag it out onto the stage. And if I zoom in, I see not a thing. Why don't I see anything? Let me undo this. Let's go back to, that's because it's off the stage. Hold on. And make sure that this is selected, or not selected rather. Deselect. There we go. Now if I click it and I drag it on stage. No, it's not doing it. Come on. Let me turn off view. I want to hide smart guides. There we go. Now let's try again. Why am I not seeing it? Because it lies outside. So why am I not? See, when I put it in, it's okay. That's not good. Let me take it here and go to Object, and I want to expand Object and Fill. It's still within that. So why am I, is it not? Okay, never mind. Let me go back a few steps. I'm going to create another layer on top of this, just to be on the safe side. Oh, come on. Okay, here we go. Now let me try it. Let me lock the grass layer so that doesn't happen by accident. And now I'll drag this back up. Oh, come on. Having a horrible time here. There we go. So it's just an individual, if you wanted an individual one. Just like if I want an individual tree, you can drag it out. And it's just a collection of little illustrations that you've made. If for any reason I want to change the color of the grass, I can select this and I can go to Object. And as I said, I can expand. So it's no longer the symbol. And now I can select these as a group or individually. I'll go ahead and come back here and select with the group selection tool individual elements. And to show you how this can change this dramatically and change it pretty easily is that if I select yellow, for example, whoops, not for that. Let's go back to the stroke color. Yellow, select red and orange. Something that really looks very different. Okay? So now I've switched from green to these other colors. I'll go back and select this as a group. And now, if I drag this back in, I have two ways of working. If I want a new group of grass that has these different colors, I just click and drag it in here, like you would for a pattern. Okay? And that creates a brand new symbol. We'll call it fall grass. And now, when I can delete this now. I don't want to delete it, but I'll move it over to the side. What I can do now is with the symbol tool or airbrush tool, now when I paint, see how it's painting it with those colors. So I could have changed the size of it, I could change the look of it, I could have added little bits of grass to it, all kinds of stuff that I can do here. Keep just holding it in place and clicking, and I have a whole group of the grass there. So now, what if I wanted to change the green that's already in here, and I want it to look like what I have? What I can do is select this, and I drag it on top of the other icon, hold down the Option key as I do so, and release, and nothing happens. Okay. No, it's working. It's working. It's working. The little spinner is going here. But it should now substitute one for the other, which allows you to change a variety of things on the fly, which is really pretty cool. By just changing one library item, wherever you've used that library item, it should update, and I hope it doesn't crash. Oh, please don't crash. There we go. So now they've all changed. Okay. So you can use them individually just by dragging one out. You can use the airbrush to spray paint a whole bunch of them. So that's what they're doing here. Let me undo that so we have this to go back to the, come on. One to go back to the green grass. It was just to show you that difference. But now it's going to crash. If we wanted to add some flowers, again, you can click to add individual symbols, or you can click and hold down the mouse to add a whole field of grass or flowers. Come on. It's crashing. There we go. Okay. So I decided I'm going to add some flowers here. I can click with the airbrush tool or symbol tool, click once, see how big they are. I can click on some of the others. Let's see how big they are in here. Quite large. Boom. The more you hold, the longer, the more symbols are added. And again, if you don't like the size of it, because it's based on the size that you created the original object, come back to the tool, and this one here, scruncher, wait a minute, I want to resize this. This is the resizer. No, it's not. Which is the resizer? I think this is the resizer. If I hold down the Option key, no, that's the scruncher. This should be, is this the resizer? I can't remember which one of these they are. Oh, that removes them. So which one changes the size? Let me go back again. This is shift some, that's the scruncher. Shifter, that supposedly moves them. This is the sizer one. Okay. So by holding down the Option key, see how I make it smaller? By not holding down the Option key, I make it larger. By selecting, now I just did it a moment ago, I can't remember the one that I wanted. This is the stainer, that changes the color a little bit. Symbol screener. This one, styler. How about the mover? Or just scruncher? I just want to remove it altogether. Oh, I'll try that one. Okay. I can't remember. There, that just changes it and makes a tint of it. Shoot. I just want to get rid of this silly thing. Because that one is still there. Interesting. Okay. So let's use the shifter again and move it over. And let's change that. Because that's still there. That one is still there. Oh, come on. Oh my, that made it huge. Let me go back a few steps. There we go. Okay. So let me try this again. If I select the shifter, scruncher, sizer, that's what I want. Hold down the Option key, I can make these all a little bit smaller. Okay, so let's go up, let's add a couple of trees because that's what they're going to have us do on here. Back here, again, you can click once. Whoops, didn't want to do that because it added it in here, and that's not what I wanted. So let me deselect. Let's make sure that the correct layer is selected because it's just going to add it to that group already. I'm going to unlock the tree. I'm going to lock the flowers, lock the leaves. Now go back with the airbrush tool again. Now let's try. There we go. I'm just clicking once and notice how I'm adding the trees. So depending on the kinds of illustrations you do, if you use shapes or elements of an illustration often, why reinvent the wheel? You can build your own library of items as they've done here. They have lots and lots of library items that you can use. You can create your own. And again, anything, just about anything can be a symbol. As an example, if I wanted to spray polka dots, I could come in here, or stars, that would be a good one. So I go ahead and I create the star, like so, and let's create a fill for it. Let's, let me bring up a gradient. I want to try the gradient inside it. And I also want to look at, what do I want to look at? Swatches, and I don't have any swatches. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and fill it. I'll just fill it with a color, nice red fill. So if I want to spray a whole bunch of red stars, all I have to do is click on this and drag it in here. It's a new symbol, just call it star or red star. That's it. It could be multiple objects, it doesn't have to be one. Now when I select this, and with this tool, come up here, and you're spraying not individual pixels, but entire elements. And then again, coming back, we can shift them, and I can move it around, and I'm massaging it a little bit. It's working better than it did with the grass. I click and I drag, and it allows me to distribute these a little bit more evenly. And again, using this one, this allows me to scrunch them together so they're a little bit closer. If I hold down the Option key, they should move farther apart. Just does the opposite. This one allows me to change size, hold down the Option key. And again, it changes sizes of only those within that sphere of influence. If I right click, should be able to make a smaller brush. Undo sizing. Okay. If I want to rotate, see how it rotates them. If I want to change, make some darker, some lighter.
So they are one group.
If I want to lighten some up, I click that one. It's one group. So if I were to zoom out of this, and it actually, I kind of goofed. It also added something else that I had down here, this other item, that star down here, and I didn't want that. I should have deleted that after I put it in the library, but I didn't. Okay. So here are my stars, and if I decide, you know what, I don't like red stars in my sky, and so this bears repeating, you just click one and drag it out. And now let's change that color. Maybe I want a light blue star instead, like so. And make sure that this, I have to expand this first. So object, expand. Now let's go back and make it a light blue. Okay? Now if I take that and I drag it back on top of this star and hold down the Option key, you see how it highlights that symbol in black, the outline of it, and when I release, it changes them all. Yeah, even the ones that have already been used. Now, if you don't want that to happen, then you need to create a separate symbol. So you can have multiple, you know, I have 5 different stars, and they each have different colors that I spray paint. And again, it doesn't have to be individual elements. As you can see, here are 3 trees grouped together. But when you bring it out on stage, it's an individual element. And if I use this tool with this selected, notice how I'm going to spray a whole bunch of trees along here, make a whole forest in a couple of minutes. And that can be, you know, in certain circumstances, that can work really, really well. Now, I have forgotten, so I'm going to take from here, and I'm going to bring some of these, whoops. I want to bring, why won't it let me do it? Okay, let me look at layers, and that's probably what's screwing me up. It's embedded in one of these areas that already exists. Just like you see here that's off stage, you don't see it. Because if I select this, see this is one big group. And when I move it off, see how it's outside of this element? So they're here. So you can kind of move them around and arrange your tree with a little bit different pattern if you want when you're done, but it's done as a group. I'm going to take some of these and just drag them into this illustration. Because I've shown you how to create your own. But what I'm going to do, so that I have mine in here now, I can get rid of these. And now I can take this. And I've already created, you know, or they've created for us the trunk and the branches of the tree. Now we'll go back and we'll select this tool, and we'll go ahead and just paint like crazy. And it's just, you know, can paint a whole bunch of these in here. So in the right place, in the right situation, this can be a dynamite tool. And again, it's, if you plan on using a similar shape or a similar element of your illustration over and over again, and maybe you also plan on using it in the future with another illustration, then why not turn it in to a symbol? And you create your own little library item. Maybe it's a series of logos that you've used, that you use from time to time. It could be any element, anything that you can think of that you use repeatedly. And then, instead of painting with individual pixels, now you're actually painting with objects. and throwing them in very quickly. It works well for in some instances. In some instances, even if I don't want to spray paint the trees as I did, if I only want to add one or two, at least I don't have to recreate it. Some people do a lot of illustrations that include flowers and trees and flora and fauna and stuff like that. And it's helpful, you know, on your downtime to go ahead and you create a whole library of elements. You know, it could be squirrels and birds and this and that, and you have your own libraries. And when the time comes that you need them, they're already there. And you can use them as individual elements, or you can spray paint a whole bunch of them and include them in your illustration. It can be really, really useful. Okay? That's all there is to the tool. There isn't anything more than that. It should go very quickly for you. Okay? I do have another inspirational video that I'd like you to see. This is another TED lecture, and it's on, the lecture was held at Art Center in Pasadena, and it's on play related to creativity and how the element of play helps and facilitates creativity. I know for myself, when I went back to graduate school for the second time to get my MFA, I was probably the most serious I've ever been about going to school, and I was the least serious when it came to taking myself seriously. That I didn't, I was there to have fun. Work really hard, but I wanted to have fun. It had to be enjoyable for me that second time. And so there was that element of play that when I went to it, I want to have fun. And by having fun, it was amazing the kinds of leaps that I was able to make in my own work. There's the leapfrog effect. Have you heard of that? Where you jump over, instead of going in a linear fashion, you make leaps that in your knowledge and your ability and whatever, that maybe would have taken you, let's say, 2 years to achieve, and instead of 2 years, it took you 2 months. You were able to leapfrog all of those, you know, and jump over all of those intermediate stages and make these quantum leaps. And I think for myself to treat what I was doing and be playful and to have fun with it really, really helped a lot. There is an element, and he talks about this in the lecture, that at some point that once I won't say you're done playing, because you can both be serious and be playful. But there's a time when you see that you have made these leaps, made these dramatic changes or ideas, that you can then pull back, step back, and then you can be a little bit more serious and focused and refine it. But that doesn't mean you can't always go back and revisit it and take, you know, more playful attitude to it and try to go in and jump in another direction. See what you think. It's 20 minutes or so, 20 to 30 minute lecture, and you can work while you're listening to it and look up occasionally. But I wanted to go to this symposium, but it was like minimum $1,500 or something for a day or something, you know. I thought, that's out of my price range, you know, and no one was footing the bill for me. But it's nice that some of this is being made available on video now for free. So I'll turn off this video that I'm recording right now myself and get that, and then I'll show it to you.